Hello and welcome to Diligence Inside America's Boardrooms. I'm Rebecca Corbin, founder and CEO of Corbin Advisors, a leading investor research and investor relations advisory firm that engages with boards and C-suite executives on value creation. Thank you to TK Kerstetter for the invitation to serve as guest host for a special two-part series on embedding sustainability into corporate strategy and galvanizing a culture. I am thrilled to welcome Ingersoll Rand's chairman and CEO, Vicente Reynal, to talk about the exciting and impactful ESG journey his organization is on. Ingersoll Rand, a $16 billion market cap industrial, is traded on the NYSE under the ticker IR. Vicente, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Rebecca. It's exciting to be here, and really thank you for the invitation. Thank you.
Absolutely. Before we begin, let me set the stage for our viewers. In 2019, Vicente made the decision to add a new pillar to Ingersoll Rand's corporate strategy, sustainability. It was publicly announced to the world, cementing IR's commitment to being a change agent today and for generations to come. Since that time, the organization has embedded sustainability into its culture and its decision-making, significantly accelerating its positive impact across stakeholder groups. It is one of a handful of public companies to award stock grants to employees at every level, equal to 20% of their annual base cash compensation. And in doing so, has galvanized its purpose among its 16,000 employees around the world. Ingersoll Rand is more and more being recognized by investors and analysts as a compounder, an elite group of public companies that offer a compelling combination of quality and growth, and that deliver double-digit earnings growth and superior returns over the long term. And IR's focus on ESG is a critical ingredient in their success. So with that, let's get into it. According to our proprietary research, 56% of investors tell us that companies that embed sustainability into their strategy will outperform over the long term. Vicente, please walk us through how you define sustainability at Ingersoll Rand relative to your key stakeholders, and also what some of your targets are.
Sure, Rebecca. For us at Ingersoll Rand, the definition, I'll say, is quite simple. It means that everything we do, it's about creating the highest impact we can around our stakeholders in a very sustainable manner. And for us, it really starts with our company purpose, which is to make life better for all stakeholders, employees, customers, the planet, and the shareholders. It then moves into how we create a competitive advantage and differentiation. And here is where I think we're really unique in how we define sustainability at Ingersoll Rand. For example, on making life better for the employees, you very well mentioned the ownership and entrepreneurial culture we have. And yes, we have given over $250 million of equity to all 16,000 employees. But we did it in a way that we told employees it was not a thank you note, but it was more for them to think and act like owners. And then we went into training and teaching every single employee, all 16,000 employees, around cash conversion cycles. And this helped us outperform our cash flow generation targets, but also accelerate investments in areas that were strategic for us. So again, it's just one example on how we think and define sustainability, which is something that is core to us. In terms of your second question on targets, clearly we have our scope 1, scope 2, and scope 3 targets, but for today, I'm going to break it into two simple areas. First of all, employees, and then I'll talk briefly targets in terms of our company. And for us, sustainability, just like the equity, it starts with the employees. And one of our core values is to nurture and celebrate a culture that embraces diverse points of views. And I have personally committed to ensuring that our board and senior leadership team reflects that idea of diversity and inclusion. And as such, we have targets such as 25% of our total global workforce will be a woman. And we're increasing also our underrepresented target talent in the US to 30%. We're making incredible progress here. We're making incredible progress in the fact that our board is already 60% diverse, whereas 3 years ago it was not. And that diversity is in gender and ethnicity. We have 2 Hispanics, 2 women, 1 African American. In addition, my extended leadership team also 60% diverse. And in terms of targets for the company, clearly we're committing to net zero greenhouse gas emissions by 2050, with a very aggressive target of 60% reduction by 2030. And clearly, we're already into execution mode, and we can talk about that. And we're making great progress. We're already 16% all the way to these respective goals. So very exciting journey so far.
Excellent. And obviously, you set the tone, diverse, right? 1 in 12 Hispanic CEOs within the S&P 500. So I'm sure your employees look at that and say, you know what, one day I can be there too.
Absolutely.
ESG can be extremely overwhelming. I often call it the 9-headed hydra. Given the sheer rapidity of change, the size of what companies are doing, how are you managing through the ever evolving landscape, executing and tracking progress?
Great question, Rebecca. And it's all about how we operationalize ESG into your day-to-day activities without, in our case, without having to add tremendous amount of resources, because obviously it's critical for us to be able to control and execute. And that is the core question that we always get, is like, how do you deploy all this to your point? I mean, these ever-changing landscaping and many more things to do and such a global changing environment, how do you get all of that done? And for us, we have leveraged our own processes that we call IRX, which is Ingersoll Rand Execution Excellence, which is our operating model to deploy and execute our targets. And this means that whether greenhouse gas emissions, water conservation, or even diversity, equity, and inclusion, all these targets are executed utilizing the same common processes that we have, which is IRX. So we have embedded from simple to complex metrics into our daily cadence of execution in order to make dramatic progress this quickly. And we review this progress every week. Is one that clearly, as you very well said, you got to set the tone at the top. And I'm the one that participates on these weekly cadence events that we review progress every week.
And just for our viewers, on the IRX, when we survey investors, institutional investors, and ask them what are the most compelling, sustainable, competitive advantages that they look for in publicly traded companies, tied for number 1 is operational excellence along with high barriers to entry. So superior competitive advantage, what gets measured gets done. And I know for a fact Ingersoll Rand has one of the best operating models out there. Let's talk about your board. What's your role of the board in overseeing and supporting sustainability at Ingersoll?
Yeah, Rebecca, I think this is a topic that you and I spoke a lot about in the past, and which is it's all about the plumbing and how you kind of create the connections. And what I mean by that is that it's all about how you connect the dots, how you align the entire company. 4 years ago, ESG and sustainability was not a topic of conversation for us at the board or even at the senior leadership team. And today, sustainability is highly embedded across the entire company. 2 years ago, we added also a 5th strategic imperative for us at Ingersoll Rand, which is operate sustainably. And today, this is now fully connected across the entire company. And specifically to the board, we created now a sustainability committee at the board. And that continues to drive accountability, excellence, best practice sharing. And now we're even taking it out to the next level, to the point that here on our next board meeting that we're having here in a few weeks, we're actually going to do a deep dive on sustainability and ESG for the entire board, not just the committee. We'll have a committee session, but also the entire board is very eager to know our journey and the actions and how can they help us to continue to make progress on this.
Excellent. For companies that are contemplating a similar journey or are maybe in the early stages, what needle-moving actions would you suggest they take to build momentum?
Rebecca, I think this is one that I'm very passionate about, that you need to ensure that it is embedded in the culture and that all the dots and the points are highly connected. And for me, what that means is that from the company purpose to the company values and how you execute on a day-to-day basis, that everything is so interconnected. And for us, that means that company purpose, making life better, is well connected to our values that have diversity, equity, and inclusion, that have around ownership mindset, and then how we execute to our strategic imperatives with operate sustainably and then utilizing IRX. And I know that at a high level that sounds simple, but then it's all about how you ensure that employees understand what that ultimate goal is, and that you have clear metrics that are transferable to make sure that you're measuring and having those good leading indicators that you can track every week. And so you need to have specific action plans that are designed to achieve these metrics. And these plans need to be achievable, supported at all levels, simple to understand, and clearly connected with the goals that you want to and try to achieve. And like you said, taking small bites at the apple, and we do that on a weekly cadence with IRX, our process. And I mean, kind of the last point I'll give you is that that has been instrumental for us is that ultimately, as a leader, we all need to be thoughtful with decision-making process. And for us at Ingersoll Rand, even in cases like M&A, which is core to our long-term strategy, a key decision point on whether we buy a company or we walk away from a deal is to ensure that the company we're buying help us with our purpose of making life better for the planet, the customers, the employees, and the shareholders. So again, it's that interconnectivity that you do every single day in decisions and how you translate that into actions that you can actually track every single week, measure, and deploy so that your employees understand that. For me, it has been the core to our success.
Vicente, thank you again for taking the time to join us and sharing your thoughts and experience with our audience. It was truly terrific.
Thank you, Rebecca, again for inviting me and for sharing our story here. Thank you.
We look forward to next week for the final installment of our two-part series on embedding sustainability into corporate strategy and galvanizing a culture, where we'll dig deeper into lessons learned and how investors are thinking about ESG. With that, I hope you enjoyed this edition of Diligence Inside America's Boardrooms, and we look forward to seeing you next week.